Welcome to the Builders Coach Show. I'm Kurt Hagertrol and I'm here today with Jess again. How are you doing, Jess?
Hi, good. I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. 21 days alcohol-free, 12 days no sugar, no carbs. I'm feeling freaking amazing.
That's good. Awesome. I'm 16 days in, no alcohol. That is.
No alcohol, carbs and sugar?
I'm keeping them carbs.
Working on it, okay. I can feel the fat like melting off me as I speak. We've got a lot to get through, but for those of you who are joining us again, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, I'll explain what we do here. Basically just sharing what I've been talking about with a lot of the successful builders we talk to each week. Any updates, anything interesting, shocking, exciting, and really it's about documenting the journey. There's a lot that happens. There's a famous saying in coaching, I can't believe how stupid I was 2 weeks ago. Things are changing so rapidly and even more so now than ever before, right? Mm-hmm. I'm speaking to so many people and they're saying it's like, the Red Queen scenario, the sequel to Alice in Wonderland, Through the Looking Glass, the Red Queen running full tilt to stay in the same place. It feels like at the best of times. So we've got some absolute gems to share. We're just sharing mainly what's working for builders out there, our most successful clients.
Kurt, let's kick off with this first question for you. So you talk about best practice. Tell us a little bit, what is your philosophy as it relates to seeking out best practice?
Great question, Jess. The reason most builders come to us these days is to optimize their profit, workflow, cash flow. And what we help them do best is implement best practice process for every area of the business in the shortest period of time without getting put off. So there's guidance with both information and then there's accountability in actually getting shit done. Mm-hmm. All right. So what we do, and this is why we're so busy, is constantly seek out the best possible processes for all the different areas of the business. There's your finance, your marketing, sales, admin, team, leadership, and it's absorbing information. It's looking at real data from the trenches. So what's actually working for our most successful builders, and then sharing that and, in many cases, refining it and updating it as new technologies and systems are made available as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for that.
If I could add something to that as well, possibly the single most important and powerful thing you can do when building and running a successful business is align yourself with the right people. So in the same way you want to have good best practice processes in place, and again, there is a sequence for implementing those, you want to overlay those processes with exceptional people. And you can have the best processes in the world, but without really good people, you're not going to succeed. So the single most powerful thing you can do is build a dream team, is to spend the time and energy seeking out the best possible people that you can. And that's what we do. I spend a lot of time aligning myself with people who have a proven track record for consistently delivering at a high level. And you need to do the same. As a builder, you should be seeking out the best designers, the architects, engineers, real estate agents, whoever it is that can help you deliver a better service. And a lot of that front-end process is so important. I don't have to tell you. The design, the engineering, the costing, so seeking out really good estimators if you don't have them in-house is paramount to your success. And make no apologies, because we live in a world of mediocrity. So when I say make no apologies for saying no to people who don't consistently meet your high standards. So it does require that you, one, know what your standards are, and then two, seek out people who match those standards.
That was actually linking to my second question for you, was how important are people in achieving success in your business?
People are crucial. Absolutely crucial. Like I said before, you could have the best possible processes on the planet for your business, but if you don't have good people, who's going to run those systems? Ideally, you want to have, and this sounds like a contradiction, you want to have a business that's more systems than people dependent, but you want to overlay the best possible people on top of those systems. Mm-hmm. The last thing you want is to find a unicorn who is the one person that you're dependent on, whether it's a salesperson or someone who runs all your jobs, because if something happens to them, then everything's going to go to pieces. So you need a solid foundation of best practice process and then overlay the best possible team on top of that.
We talk a lot about mindsets. What's the predominant mindset shift your clients need to make in order to achieve success?
Yes, that's such a good one. I had someone ask me a similar question when we were in Adelaide recently. He asked me, what's the single most important mindset attribute of a successful leader. And I said growth mindset. So the ability to learn, to stay open, to look in the dark and ask yourself, what is it that you don't know? Okay. As well as what it is that you do know that you're not doing. That's a very important question. But I'd say the single most important mindset shift that a builder has to make when they work with us is to go from being a builder or seeing yourself as a builder, and ask yourself this now, do you see yourself as a builder or a business owner? Right, so you need to transition across to becoming a business owner. And I know for some builders, they can't do that. They don't want to move across from being a builder and building beautiful homes, which is where their passion and their heart lies, to running a business and focusing on the financial metrics and becoming a people manager and doing all the things that you need to do to run a successful business, which really is another whole apprenticeship. It's a 5-year minimum thing. Once you've decided, I want to learn and better understand this business thing, it's a 5-year journey at best, regardless of how intelligent you are.
Yeah, and it requires personal development and leadership development.
Huge. Your business will never outgrow your leadership. And you need to work on yourself and your leadership continuously, because you will only ever get the people you deserve. You need to be a caliber leader who can attract leaders and build a team of leaders underneath you. So important.
Kurt, so I think you had a conversation this week with one of your builder, and it highlighted the impact of, small shifts within the margin and the impact it can have on the bottom line. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Yes, it was an interesting conversation. Let's talk about profit. I absolutely love this subject matter. This is what we do, right? Is we help builders make more money, all right? And doing that requires that you know your margin, all right? We talk about gross margin and net profit. We won't go into the specifics, but when you're quoting your jobs, it's all about understanding the cost to deliver that job. Materials, labor. Labor is one area where there's often overruns. Well, this particular guy that I was talking to, he had nailed that, right? So he was, when he's finished the job, looking at cost versus actual. So what did it actually cost? What did he predict that it was going to cost when he was quoting them, when he quoted the job, and what did it actually cost, and what was the gross margin result? And he's able to achieve a consistent 20% margin, which is sort of below where you want to be if you're in the builders coach community. But for him in his area, and it's a price sensitive area that he's in, and location does impact your ability to achieve a higher margin. If you're in a metro area where there's a huge amount of demand and there are a lot of affluent areas, there's a demographic where people are a lot of high net worth individuals, then you can push for higher margin. If you're in a regional area, small population, and there's not a lot of room to move in, and there's not a lot of high net worth individuals, it makes it more difficult. So this guy's in an area where there's not as much potential to get the margin up, but he's got it up to 20, and he's looking at significant growth coming up. He's growing at a rapid pace. I'd say 150% maybe, and I don't encourage rapid growth. In fact, 50% growth is, that's significant over a 12-month period. 150, that's quick. But if it's done in a controlled way using intelligent forecasting, so financial forecasting, organizational chart, team structure forecasting, a 12-week plan, so you've got a business plan and a forecast for your business systems development, then it can be done in a controlled way. And that's what he's doing. His forecast for the next 12 weeks shows that he's going to be doing similar revenue to his previous 12 months. So about 4 million, right? And we looked at a 2% increase in his gross profit. So remember, his gross profit's 20%. If it went to 22%, that's an additional $80,000 net profit that he'll make in the next 12 weeks. Right? If he can hold that for hold the revenue and that additional margin for 12 months, well, then you times that by 4. So what's that? $340,000 net profit over 12 months. How do you get that extra 2%? Well, he could, find a 1% increase in efficiency in how quickly they deliver the job. Get it done a week or two before what was projected, and or contact suppliers and trades and go, hey, shave 1% off your price and the job's yours. So just emphasizes how small shifts in gross margin can have a massive impact on bottom line. And you can only imagine the impact a 5% swing makes, which is very common.
You also have a story to share with us about network marketing.
Absolutely. Network marketing is, in my experience, the single most powerful marketing channel out there. So I often tell a story about a guy who was a supervisor, took on his boss's business. It was doing about 2 mil turnover. It's now doing 40 mil turnover. And it's purely through networking with architects and designers. But I've got a guy I'm working with now. He's working in a very upmarket area. Mm-hmm. You'd know it. And there's a lot of work going on. And he's been contacting architects in the area, just saying, hey, I'm doing some work in the area. And from my experience, the pre-construction phase of the build process is the most important, and I'm looking to align myself with the right architects and designers who can generate consistently high quality documentation. I'd love to meet with you to learn more about you and your business to see if we're a fit. Boom. Mm-hmm. That's a script. I think I shared it on the previous pod. Go check the previous pod for specifics. And he's been calling these architects. When I say affluent, there's 20, 30, 40, $50 million houses in the suburb. He's doing a very small job. He's doing an $80,000 job. He called an architect. They asked him, oh my gosh, so you're working in the area. Would you be open to doing smaller jobs, like jobs below $20 million? And he was like, yeah, quite. And that's exactly what he's looking for. He's not trying to do, get into that market, because if you get into the real high-end type work, it can, reach a level of complexity that causes and generates a whole lot of inefficiency. So it's not the market he wants to be in anyway. But he found it quite comical that he was just, reaching out to see if they had smaller work. But before he could even get to that, they were asking him. So what it is perception, right? Their perception of him, because he's working in the area, is that he must be one of those builders that's building, the 10, 20, $30 million homes. He's not. But perception's reality. And that's what marketing does, really. But within the marketing systems of which you want to have, I'm not here to say don't use online and offline marketing systems. You absolutely want a website. You want to use quality photo and video content, social media, build a following, build an email list, communicate with them through some sort of newsletter. But nurturing relationships with the right people, as we spoke about before, is the single most powerful thing you can do. Mm-hmm. And from a marketing perspective, it puts you in that one-horse race. If you've got an architect that loves you and what you do and recognizes the value that you bring to their business and the inefficiency and the pain and frustration that you can eliminate from their lives, from their business, they will 100% back you and tell their clients, hey, we're working with this guy, otherwise you're not working with us. I had a conversation yesterday with one of my builders who's come back to us, him and his wife, and they've had significant breakthrough, things are going well. And I love what they're doing. Okay, this is out of the box. I've only had about a dozen builders that I've worked with do this, all right, and run with it. And what they're doing is an information night. They're calling it Renovate or Sell. They've joint ventured with a prominent real estate agent in the area. He's going to be presenting as well, plus an architect. So the whole evening is geared towards people in the local community. The builders bringing 20 people. The real estate agents bringing 20 as well. And they're going to share, the pros and cons of, renovating, selling, what the market's doing, what's involved in selling, just sharing case studies. So here's some things that have gone horribly wrong from my experience. Again, largely with the pre-construction process, getting documentation wrong. And then here's what's gone well. And here's how we price work, plan work, help you get through, some of the red tape that's involved pre-construction. And here's the thing. One of his leadership and personal development goals, you mentioned how, we're talking about how important leadership development is before, is to do some public speaking. So he's going to need to get up. The builder's going to MC the evening and present a component as well. So he's working on himself, on his leadership, on his communication skills, which, by the way, I believe that's the single most important attribute that you can have for life in general. Every single one of my kids are going to learn to communicate their ideas effectively, because if you can't do that, you're going nowhere. So he's getting to build that leadership attribute as well as deliver a lot of value to the people in the community. Plus, they're using it as a content creation opportunity. So they're going to film the evening, they'll be able to get that content, they can chop it up, they can use that in their sales process, plus on their social media platforms. Fantastic initiative.
I love that. Yeah, that's really good. People love events on top of it, and just layering.
Absolutely, especially in this day and age where everything's online. Yeah, when do you get together and interact with people? When we have our events, there's something that happens, right? When you get into the same room as people and you get to look them in the eyes and have some face-to-face interaction.
Yeah, and just some casual conversation afterwards and common interests, etc.
That's right, yeah. So hence why network marketing, one of the most powerful marketing strategies, I would say the most powerful marketing strategy out there.
Awesome. I love it. Okay, let's talk about this story you have about one of your clients that has, I was going to say that has no boundaries. That may be a bit harsh.
Yes.
We're struggling with boundaries.
Look, I've been accused of not having strong boundaries with my girls. I've got 4 girls, right? And sometimes, people go, geez, you let them walk all over you. So I know what you're talking about there. And it's easy from the outside looking in as a coach. I can go, hey, maybe you need to strengthen up the boundaries there. So an obvious example of when you need boundaries with clients is when the job starts and you explaining to them that they're part of the team and then explaining the rules of the game, payments need to be on time. Please don't call me after hours and on weekends. We need to rest and be wide-eyed, bushy-tailed on site the next day. Them understanding access to site, how you're going to communicate. In a nutshell, setting boundaries is about leadership. So you need to lead your clients. But this guy that I was talking to just the other day, it was more around closing the sale. So if you've got people out there that you've met with and they liked you and they liked what you proposed, but they haven't committed, that you haven't been able to get them over the line, you need to lead them and, set a boundary. The boundary comes in where you say to them, we need to either move forward. We've got our team ready to go. We'd love to work with you, and you and the job types are right in line with when we do our best work. So we want to proceed, but we need a yes or no within a certain timeline. With all due respect, if you don't want to proceed, that's totally okay. But and we've got other people waiting. Ideally, you want to have other people waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
Marketing solution if you don't have that. And then, go for a quick no over a slow maybe. Mm-hmm. So set a boundary there as opposed to having, I've seen 18 unclosed deals floating around and you may think, oh, that's okay. I'll get to them at some point. It takes up energy. It takes up mental and emotional energy. It's an inefficiency from a leadership perspective. Another area where you set boundaries is with your trades, with your employees. It's letting them know what the framework is and what the expectations and the standards of performance are, where they sit. So with your employees, there's a job description, there's KPIs, the key performance indicators, and then there need to be regular performance reviews like every 12 weeks. But you can also set the culture. You can draw out values for the business based on what's important to you and the vision and the mission, but also the team. So it's communicating, it's relating to people, it's about values alignment. And again, it's leadership, right? It's you setting a course for your business, taking control, leading, and then putting up a fence, letting people know where the boundaries are. Then people need to know that, and that's what good leaders do. So the question is, are you doing that in your business?
So I think there's a lot of people out there struggling with time management.
Yes.
Do you have any hacks that could help us?
Absolutely. There's a great time management book called Buy Back Your Time by a guy called Dan Martell. He was actually the first presenter at a coaching event I went to recently. He's got a great hack, if you like, that's 10-80-10. And what it's about is you spend 10% of your time doing the first bit of the task, 80% of the task gets allocated to or outsourced to a team member, a competent team member, of course, and then you come in again at that last 10% just to check. So a good example of this is costing or estimating. So the first 10% you do, 80% the takeoffs and gathering the pricing from your trade base or whatever else and getting the quantities right. Someone else does, maybe an estimator or someone in-house, and then the last 10% you do the checking. 10-80-10. Talking about time management though, there is another thing that came up in the last conversation since our last pod, and that is one of our guys over in Minnesota, the US of A, sending out questionnaires. So inquiries coming in, this guy gets a lot of inquiries, and just sending out the questionnaires. And it took a while to get his head around it, but 25% of them don't come back. What he's realized is they tire kickers. Of the ones that come through, 1/3 of them aren't paying for a site visit. He charges for site visits. The ones that pay for a site visit are quality people, and they tend to convert into a prelim agreement, they pay for a quote, or they go ahead with a job. So he's spending less time speaking to better quality people, and it's freed up a significant amount of time. He's also put an office admin person on that's freed up about 20 hours a week. And in terms of time management, that's not necessarily a hack, because there's a bit of time and effort that goes into setting up a sales process and employing an office admin person. But the three biggest areas would be sales process, because there's a big inefficiency, office admin person, and then the site supervisor or leading hand foreman. That if you're doing that, if you're managing the jobs, that is going to free you up unbelievably.
Kurt, I heard you talk a lot about negative mindset and how most people, well, all of us, will default to a negative mindset.
Yeah, it's interesting, because we are naturally, especially as entrepreneurs, you're naturally optimistic. In fact, people in general, we're born optimistic. It's a survival mechanism. But what I've found time and time again, and ask yourself this question, right? When guys submit a quote, for example, and then there's radio silence, they don't hear back from someone, they immediately start thinking negative. Right? The person's gone away, they're going to work with another builder, they're not interested, or something I did or said. There's just a natural negative thing. And I think this would relate to dating as well. If you're out there and you're in the dating pool, when you don't hear from someone, your brain will naturally start thinking negative things. And in a very high percentage of the cases, this is actually not true. It's not true that they're working with another builder, or the person doesn't want to speak to you, or whatever it is. They just got busy, they got caught up, life happened, they had an issue come up. So what I've found is you're better off using unconditional positive regard, assuming the positive, assuming everything's okay, and then pursue following them up, not in a stalker type fashion, but you can send an email, phone call, leave a voicemail message, text message, and do that at least 3 or 4 times, assuming that everything's okay and they've just been caught up. You can even leave a message. I always leave a message if I haven't heard from someone, and I'll say, look, you've obviously been caught up. I'm assuming you're really, really busy. Something's pulled you away, but get in touch, and then give them a reason to get back in touch. Let them know that, you're holding their space or whatever it is. But assume the positive until they tell you that no, they're not interested and they no longer want to proceed.
We've got time for one more question. So, Kurt, tell us the importance of critical drivers when it comes to achieving success.
Absolutely, man. It's so important. Everything we do is engineered towards getting people to take action, consistent action on the right drivers. Okay, drivers also referred to in business as key performance indicators. So there's certain things you do that ensure that you get a result. So in business, it's obviously about making money. You want profit, you want cash flow coming in, and then workflow, consistent flow of quality work. So what do you need to do? What are the drivers that ensures that? Well, there's your inquiries that come in, all right? There's those inquiries then normally move forward to a site visit. So how many site visits do you need a week, a month, a year to convert into prelim agreements or people paying you for a quote? And then how many of those then convert to job starts, contracts? And you can really look ahead and you can do those metrics and then, map them out and then monitor and measure. Like if you have 2 site visits a week, and you convert one of those, then there's 1 prelim. So you're getting 4 prelims a month, and then 2 of those convert to contract. That's 2 contracts a month or 2 starts a month. So if you need more, maybe you got to up it to 3 site visits a week. And then there's role clarity, aligning horses for courses with the different tasks. So who does the site visits? Who sends out the questionnaires? Okay, how does that all work? So understanding the drivers or metrics and then aligning the right people to execute on those consistently well is what, execute or initiates that law of cause and effect. It's a bit like exercise, right? You want to get fit and healthy and lean, stop eating sugar, carbohydrates, stop drinking alcohol, go for a lot. Run in the morning and do a weight session in the afternoon. You're going to get fitter, stronger, healthier. That's the way it works. There's also something that ties into that, which is you can't manage what you don't measure. So know your drivers, but then capture the numbers. You don't want to go into a paralysis of analysis situation where you've got constant data that you're analyzing. But something that I do personally, just to share a little leadership thing, is I'll look at specific habits that I want to form, routines that I want to put in place. So exercise is a common one. I usually go for a run in the morning, maybe go to the gym. When I do, I capture that as a process win. That's a driver for me to be physically healthy, mentally alert, feel good, have the energy that I need to deliver the best possible value during coaching calls. So that's one that I capture. But there's other things you can look at as well, like how you respond to different situations and your emotions, right? We're emotional creatures. So these days we're not feeling great at all. Do you allow that to affect you? If it's horrible weather outside, some people get affected by that, right? It impacts their day. It shouldn't.
Yeah.
So being aware of that, being able to check in on that, what they call a third space. If someone does something really rude to offend you, or blatantly does something that betrays your trust, catching yourself in your response to that, or in your emotional response, because that is the only control we have, is how we respond to situations. And yes, we're all going to have people do things that where we feel hard done by, or they are 100% in the wrong. But how we respond can either leave it there, cap it there, or make the situation a whole lot worse. Yeah. So that could be something as well. Just your mindset, your emotional state. What else? Let me just think of a couple of other things I've put in there. Time with family and friends. I was talking to someone today. Like, an important metric is time with family and kids. And you can literally capture that. Look at how many days or afternoons have you spent with your family, really present with them this week or this month. If it's important to you, capture it.
Thanks for sharing. Do you want to just remind us of your events, upcoming events?
Yes, 20th of September over in WA in Perth. You don't have to live in the area to join us. Use some pre-tax money to come see beautiful Perth. We've got plenty more lined up for the rest of the year. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.
Bye.